We called it. We are back after I kind of screwed up and misdirected Ken last week, and our schedules didn't align as I thought they would. But we have a lot to talk about. Super excited because I get to talk analytics a little bit, get to talk about why Moneyball in Cleveland didn't work, and Dee Podesta is now the leader of the Colorado Rockies, going from the worst job in the NFL to the worst job in the MLB. We will also be covering why Brian Dable got fired, why not Kevin Stefanski. Obviously got my Browns gear on, so that, hits close to home. And then covering, the current NFL landscape, crazy teams like Packers are still heavily favored to make the playoffs. Should they be? The Bears aren't likely to make the playoffs according to the odds, but I don't agree with that. And then lastly, Ken asked a great question and I didn't answer before we started, but who's the best team in the NFL? And we will follow that up with our week 11 picks. All right, all that out of the way to say, hey, that's what we're talking about. Ken, thank you for coming back. Sorry, Dr. Ken, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me back. I know after how well I've done so far this year, the invite back, every week I'm waiting for it to just disappear.
I will say, I got to brag. I was 5-2 on my picks last week. Doesn't mean anything for anyone since we weren't here, but I made a good amount of money.
Well, the last time we were together, we were undefeated in our combined picks. So probably going to do that again. I don't see why not.
I was going to say, if we agree, it has to hit. So anyways, yeah, we have 3 more of those coming later. Spoiler alert, they're all the teams we pick all the time. Brian Dable getting fired. I love Brian Dable. I think we didn't do our coach rankings 2 years ago. I had him like top 5 because he got Daniel Jones 10 wins to the playoffs and a win. And then,
by the way, that statement doesn't look anywhere near as cool anymore.
Hey, just wait for Steichen. He does not have 10 wins yet. Come on. Anyways, so I am huge. I think Dable is going to land somewhere, whether it be as a new coach somewhere or an OC. And I'm hoping OC in Philly because they look lost there. His dealing with running quarterbacks who are limited and making them look good. Jackson Dart, Josh Allen did it for both of them. Could play well with Jalen Hurts. So I feel bad for him. He has screwed up with the Giants a lot, but I think he's going to land on his feet, and it's going to look really bad in 5 years for the Giants to make this move.
I just thought it was really weird timing for it. I know, yes, they're not doing that great. Their record isn't very reflective, but look at their offense. You lose Malik Neighbors, then you lose Cam Scatterboo, who was literally the heart and soul of that team. And then Jackson Dart gets hurt. He's getting evaluated for concussion. I think I saw somewhere that he's been evaluated for 4 concussions so far. Now, this is the only one that's been diagnosed with, but that should tell you enough about your running quarterback. But he keeps coming out of the game. Russell Wilson, unfortunately, keeps going back in. And if he's not playing the Cowboys, Russell Wilson is only a shell of himself at this point. I wasn't expecting them to win. They've shown some decent high points during the year. Like their offense has looked good when there are some pieces. Now, first off, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, and Malik Neighbors were on the field together for 0 plays altogether this year.
Whoa. There was the one play where he subbed in for a minute, I think.
I'm sorry. But point being, there's a lot of kind of positives going on with the team. I think it certainly is. Yeah. Once you get someone who looks like a decent quarterback, your team is moving in the right direction. It just seems like a weird time to kind of give up on him. I'm sure the medical staff's really excited he got fired. He kept going in the blue tent, check on Jackson Dart when he got hurt. Thought that was pretty funny.
You know what he's saying? He's like, dude, I want to put Jameis in, but they're not letting me, so you got to get your butt back out here. I cannot have Russell Wilson on the field.
Well, we get to see Russell Wilson at least one more game.
All right. So, Ken, as a Browns fan, now that the first hat is dropped in terms of coaching fires, is Stefanski the next? I only ask because the Browns they went from an embarrassing loss after Myles Garrett had a historic game to the worst loss of the season. That's the bottom line. They lost to the Jets when their defense was fantastic, but they gave up 2 special teams touchdowns and their offense looked atrocious. To a team that just punted its best 2 players off the field.
And speaking of punted, that's pretty much all the Jets did, and they still won. It's not long before teams just start doing the Bobby Boucher, or how do you stop Bobby Boucher?
Knees? Yeah.
Yes, but it's tough to say because, there were no expectations going to this year, but this is 2 years in a row that Stefanski's lost the locker room. Stefanski is what I think is a bright offensive mind, but you just can't lose a locker room for 2 years in a row. And we're only halfway through the second, but it's pretty clear that it looks like our offense has absolutely just no fight. And I mean, part of that's the quarterback, but it's also tough when you're seeing like Joe Flacco go and just like light up Cincinnati and just like, hey, look, I still got it. Wasn't a Flacco problem. It was a Cleveland problem. At this point, there's no talent on the offense. There's Quinshon Judkins, but you need more than a running back. There's absolutely no one to throw to. And your best playmakers are tight ends who are not like Njoku used to like have that game breaking like speed at the tight end position, but he's not ripping off these, huge plays like down the sideline anymore. So it's just tough. It's tough to see a team with as good of a defense, a top 5 defense in the NFL, just fall on its face. So you just can't do it 2 years in a row. I think that Stefanski will have a good career somewhere else, but I think he's gone after this year.
I really think that guy's been trying to get fired for like the last 2 years, and he's so bad at coaching that he failed to get fired from the Browns. Like, no, I've been a big Stefanski defender for a while, and I think this year's it. You can't, and it's not the Shador thing. Like, Shador is going to be awful. If you put Shador in, it's going to look exactly like Dylan Gabriel does, or maybe it might look worse. Like, I could see him holding the ball. He's definitely a guy who's going to throw some hospital balls and picks. Where Dylan Gabriel is just going to be like, I'm going to do a 5-yard check down because I can't see anything farther than that. So I don't know. It's the talent and the situation is miserable. Don't get me wrong, but you see people do smart, cool things each week, and who don't do that is the Browns.
So I will say that prior to like this year, I was pretty big on, hey, a few things get overplayed around the combine time every year. And one is hand size for QBs. Number 2 is height. I just, Drew Brees really messed it up for like a generation just by looking as good as he did for being as short as he is. Baker always looked all right. You could complain about batted balls, but that was never really a huge problem for Baker. And then, I'm seeing Dylan Gabriel and I go, yeah, you need to be taller.
Well, it's like, so, I mean, I know Connor's not here to defend him, but Bryce Young, he looks like 200 yards is his cap each week. And it sucks having Ken traded me Ted McMillan, and I see why now, because
Ted McMillan has a great game. It's 5 catches and 60 yards, and he looks great doing it.
Dude, it's like no matter what, like if they're down by 30, Ted McMillan, he's going to get 6 catches for 70 yards then. He'll get you 1 more. That's it. It's rough. He's consistent, though. But he can't see the field. Kyler Murray just got benched, and Jacoby Brissett looks fantastic with, a solid playmakers. Russell Wilson went from Hall of Famer to like, hey, I'm not a good quarterback. And again, another height deficit that was masked very well in Seattle. So I don't know. Is it the height thing that got overplayed? You said it was just Drew Brees. It wasn't just Drew Brees. There was Russell Wilson ruining the name for people. And now I don't know what's going to happen.
But Russ is always different, though. Like, when you were early in his career, he had a great combination of mobility and looking down, like extending plays and looking downfield. Kyler Murray extends plays and then just like runs for 12 yards instead of really like making game-breaking plays. But no, it just seems like you need someone who can sit back there and hit these like, strong 10 to 15-yard passes.
I was just pausing frozen because I didn't want to hear it anymore.
Okay.
If anyone heard it coming through, I apologize. It's how I put
It was
children
actually
to
pretty
sleep.
nice. It was pretty nice.
All right. Anyways, so you know what? Let's do a quick temperature check on the rest of the coaching jobs. So we talked Dable's out, Stefanski. I have it on my phone. That's why I'm looking down. Sorry, people. Pete Carroll might as well be gone. Tennessee's already gone.
Mike
McDaniel. Do you think he's earning his job back? Upsetting the Bills goes a long way to keeping your job.
In Miami, you bet it does. But sometimes that offense just looks good, and it's starting to really look like a Tua problem more than anything else. Jalen Waddle's like, oh, Tyreek's out. I'm doing just fine. I can be a number one wide receiver. And he really looks the part. Darren Waller was like, hey, I look cool here for 2 weeks, but Chan looks great. And that offense looks fast. So I don't, Mike McDaniel's kind of doing his part. Miami does not fire people like during the year, but I think he's kind of, he's on the Stefanski spectrum of offensive minds that just don't have that like Dan Campbell tenacity. And like, I don't feel like he's the guy that like teams are just going to play for just cause. I think it's just missing. I honestly think that they're better suited as offensive coordinators, but it's tough. Miami would have to make a pretty strong run for him to keep his job. I think he's done at the end of the year.
All right. Bengals, if they do have a bad end of the year, do they fire Zach Taylor?
No, that guy can't get fired.
Don't do it. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
As much as it's hard to watch sometimes, I think that he just has this combination of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase that stops any offensive mind from getting fired.
All right. And I think the last one that I think would be on kind of a hot seat in the NFC, like surprisingly, teams in the NFC are playing pretty well. Raheem Morris is struggling in Atlanta. I don't think he's on a hot seat. Kellen Moore's new. I think he's made the Saints look way better than they should be. Even at 2-8, he's fine. Washington. I never remember this guy's name. The defensive coordinator, he used to be a defensive coordinator for Seattle.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. I think he's fine. They had a great year last year, and they're struggling just due to all their players' legs are just missing. That's the bottom line. But Gannon in Atlanta, I think he is one that should get fired, mostly because I just hate him. I don't think they coach well. He's made Arizona look more exciting the last couple of weeks, but I think that's just more so Jacoby Brissett breathing life into what was a Kyler Murray lifeless offense.
Yeah, isn't he more of a defensive guy?
He's defensive, but Connor was here trashing Petzig, and I think the defense hasn't played well either, right? I mean, you give up 35 points in the first half. I don't care if you give up 2 defensive touchdowns.
Your offense did that.
Anyways,
I don't.
Arizona, they lost to the Titans. Just remember that.
Arizona just, sometimes they play decently. Like they put together a good game every once in a while. I don't know what to make of them. I think there's just so much. They're kind of like you should just burn it down type of situation. They kind of ended. They're not in like the Browns level of like complete garbage dumpster fire, but like they're not doing the Saints like, hey, I'm hanging out and maybe could make the playoffs. They're like, hey, I'm hanging out and can't get a top 10 draft pick. So I don't know. I really don't have much on them. Besides, still like seeing Calais Campbell out there, man. Looks awesome.
Dude, I wish he was on a relevant team.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. So let's go on. Next subject. All right. NFL playoff landscape. So Ken, you and I were looking at this right before we hopped on, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is surprisingly interesting. Where it's like we look at the AFC and the 3 teams leading the AFC right now. You got the Colts, the Broncos, and the Patriots, all at 8-2. Tiebreakers to start determine the order. Those will change in the next 6 or 7 weeks. It kind of like you look at those 3, and all I think is, man, it's just making it harder for us to see the games we really want to see. We want to see Josh Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow. Josh Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow, all those guys play against each other. I'm excited for Drake May to be the next up and comer in that group, but I don't want to see a Denver playoff game. Like, come on. Danny Jones, you think he's going to show up in the playoffs? So just starting off there, the top 4 seats, if you include Pittsburgh right now, like this is just ugly and terrible. Do you have anything on it? I don't know. It's a terrible tee off for you. Just kind of, I insult them.
No, it's just funny when you look at it because the best teams in the conference are at seeds 6 with Buffalo, 8 with KC, 10 with Baltimore, and I would say 5 with the Chargers after that. Like, I can make a strong argument that the top 4 aren't, but what kills it, which means that there's just going to be no wild card race. You're going to have these teams that are, I'm sorry, Buffalo's going to make a push. They're going to make it. KC, they're just going to make it. And Baltimore is going to sneak in and kick out Pittsburgh. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. And you're looking at it and you go, okay, those 3, the top 3s are locked, right? And then you're like, all right, Chargers, Buffalo, they're going to make it, and KC is going to be in. right? So there's your 7, and the last spot is the AFC North. And you're right, like Baltimore's taking that. I wish Joe Burrow was healthy and the Bengals could compete, but that's not happening.
No, and I'm over here like, man, I'd love to see the Texans. I just like seeing a good defense out there. Like, hey, teams with good defenses and Stroud's starting to look a little better when he's not concussed. Maybe they can make a run. And you're like, no, they can't.
Dude,
And
they are 3 or 4 games back of a spot.
yeah, but that also includes like Josh Allen falling off. It's just not happening. So
honestly, their best bet is to jump the Colts for the AFC South. They're 4 games back.
4 games back. That stinks. But yeah, what are the odds of like Pat Mahomes playing 500 ball or Daniel Jones going like 1-7 to end the year? Like,
dude,
it's
honestly,
clearly that.
Yeah, I would bet. I would bet on Jonathan Taylor breaking his leg before I bet on Patrick Mahomes not making the playoffs. All right,
so real interesting.
Oh my gosh, sorry if you hear those thuds. That's me trying to prop my phone up. Next up, the NFC, the actually interesting conference. So the top of the conference: Philly, Seattle, Detroit, and I'm going to include Tampa Bay and the Rams. They're all 6-3, 7-2. Now that makes sense, right? Like those teams, I want to see them in the playoffs. I'm actually kind of excited. The order is what it is. It'll change as time goes, but like in general, those 5, I'm comfortable making the playoffs. Honestly, I think Tampa Bay is the only one that's kind of like might fall out of the picture, and that's if they have a bad run to the end of the year and Carolina keeps pulling off Rico Dowdle miracles.
I gotta tell you, I'm really rooting for that, man. I want to see more Rico, but no, I completely agree that yes, you can see a Baker fall off. Like you've seen it, man. Injuries gets a Baker, and whether it's him or the team around him. But no, I agree. I mean, but like Philly, Seattle's definitely a surprise. I know we mentioned it before. I don't think that the Eagles look that good. I don't think the Packers look that good. I know you've already educated me on that one earlier. But no, I mean, there are some decent top teams. I don't want to see the 49ers fall off. I think they're doing really well, playing together with, the best IR team you could possibly see out there. But no, definitely a lot closer race than the AFC.
I will say one nice thing for the 49ers: 6-4. Their next games: Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts. Do you believe in Danny Dimes? That's late in the season. Bears, and then Seahawks. Like plausibly, they could hit 5 or 6 of their next games and be right back into the lead of the division, even after that very, very humbling loss to the Rams last week. So we covered the top 5. Now looking at the wild card situation, this is interesting to me. So if you look at the standings, right, 4 and 5 Vikings are probably the only one close to being able to jump the Packers, or that's the farthest. That's the closest you can be to being to jump the Packers into the playoffs. Connor and I said 2 weeks ago, Packers are frauds. They came out the last 2 weeks and they looked fraudulent. You said before we started, I want to say Packers to miss the playoffs is plus 240, if I have that right.
Plus 260.
Plus 260. And they do not get an easy life. So Giants this week in New York, congratulations, easy life. But then you get Vikings. I mean, it's still a divisional game. JJ McCarthy's looked rough, but then you go to Detroit, 2 games against the Bears, 1 game against the Broncos, Ravens, and then you're in Minnesota for the last game of the year. To me, that's a pretty tough schedule. Like plus 260 is pretty generous when you have the 49ers sitting there barking down, knocking on the door, trying to get into playoffs with that easier schedule. And then the last one was the Bears. They are plus money to make the playoffs. They are currently the 6th seed. They get into Steelers, Eagles, pretty tough Packers to start, but they got a game against the Browns. Like it is a pretty tough stretch for them to end the year, but you get 1 free W.
I was gonna say, I hate to say it, but how do you call the Packers fraudulent at 5-3-1 and not the Bears fraudulent at 6-3?
So there's difference in fraudulence, right? The Packers 2 weeks ago were the number 1 team in the NFL at 5-1-1, right? Yeah, they weren't that good. They weren't a top NFC team. The Bears are exactly where they should be. They're just like this team that is in the middle of the road. If you want to get analyticsy, they've hit heads on the close games and they've won those games. That's it. They're 6-3 because the balls bounced their way. Like, they shouldn't have beat the Bengals. They shouldn't have beat the Giants. Congratulations. Instead of 4-5, you're 6-3. Like that. So they got lucky. And Ben Johnson, he's actually made their, I think, yards per play. They're like a top 5 team. So he's doing what he does in terms of creating opportunities for offenses. Their defense is opportunistic. Dennis Allen, way back when, was the coordinator of the Saints. And I don't know if you remember the Saints who won the Super Bowl. They were dead last in yards allowed per game, but they were number 1 in turnovers forced. That's exactly what's happening here. They're forcing 2 or 3 turnovers a game, and they're winning the games because of it. So I don't know. They seem lucky, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I wouldn't bet on them to be successful yet next year. They'll probably be a heavy under team, I take, but just a heads up.
I'll be honest, just looking at their numbers here, it really looks like the only game that their defense did well was against the Saints and the Cowboys.
They had turnovers in the other games, though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Speaking a little bit, you want to go grab that?
I'm going to go grab my football. I'll be holding him while we talk. He should not need to eat. Not going to lie, I did toss him a little bit, and not toss, but rolled him over when he was waking up to make sure that he just, didn't die laying on his stomach. Number 1 in the NFL in turnovers, Chicago Bears. Not going to lie, he's back to sleep in my arms.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so yeah, you can be number 1 in turnovers, but you've given up 52 and 42 points in 2 different games this year. I'm sorry.
You play 2 of the best team offenses in the NFL, and that's just going to happen.
Okay, yeah. All right. You're right.
Who isn't looking at Joe Flacco and those Bengals and saying that's the best offense in the NFL?
You're right. No, that sounds about right.
Yeah, you got the Detroit Lions in a revenge game against Ben Johnson, though. That was going to happen.
All right.
All right. So, and then the
right.
last thing you asked for, who's the best team in the NFL right now? Man, that is a tough one. So, do you have a vote before I try to say anything?
Really, really don't want you to pick the same team as me.
All right.
I really don't. But I'm going with LA Rams.
Okay.
So
100%, I can see that.
I'm
not picking them. You're good.
That's fine. Defense is underrated, and their offense has just been clicking, but more so Puka's healthy-ish now, and Devontae Adams looks like he's everything that they wanted in a second receiver since, honestly, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods were killing it when Sean McVay first started. I think that especially just having like the end zone presence, and they're no longer kind of stuck just like gut punch in touchdowns, and which was working for McVay pretty well. But now Devontae Adams is a legitimate red zone threat. I think he might lead the league in receiving touchdowns. Or at
If he
least
doesn't, he should.
Yeah,
I think he has like 10 or 11.
But that offense just looks fantastic. Matt Stafford's clicking. Remember when you guys were all worried about his back at the beginning of the year?
Yep.
And I laughed at you? Yep. And he's saying, guys, look, the back's fine. Remember that? No, I think it's the LA Rams.
All right. So in the AFC, I think the Patriots have been fantastic. I think the Chargers are really, really good. I just can't not pick the Chiefs and then the Bills as the top 2 teams. Right. That's just the bottom line. I think the Chiefs have looked good. Yeah, I know. It's a very, very generic, very boring picks. And then in the NFC, here's the problem. Philly has the best roster in the NFL, period. Look at me. I'm so boring.
You didn't watch the Monday night game, and you certainly don't have A.J. Brown on your fantasy team.
That's why I emphasize roster, because they have A.J. Brown. It's like they're sitting on bars of gold, and they're just not cashing them in. Because they're just not using A.J. Brown. And when they do, it's like, oh, hey, he gets 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Who knew, right? So anyways, best roster, it is 100. I think the Eagles, they upgraded across the board at tons of positions. I don't even think they needed to upgrade at, but they did. I think their coaching is currently their biggest problem. So in terms of talent, I think it is Philly. I can't take the Rams in serious games, because I think I've seen it way too much. But if I had to pick right now, it would be a repeat Super Bowl. I would do KC versus Philly. I know, right? How boring. I can't help it. I had Bills to start the year, but the Bills they can't throw the ball. They cannot win a game where they dictate, like, you brought it up. James Cook fantasy owners. If he has a good game, congrats, the Bills won. If he had a bad game, congrats, the Bills lost, and so did you. But I wanted to believe in them so bad, but they just don't have. Dalton Kincaid hasn't developed into like the Kelsey-esque tight end. And then no one has developed into, like, Keon Coleman can make a highlight reel grab once a game. That's about it. Khalil Shakur is a very nice, like, third option, but they just don't have it. That's the bottom line. They don't have a guy who can catch the ball and win one-on-one.
Keon Coleman's definitely frustrating because you're like, there's talent there. But besides that, I mean, yeah, Khalil Shakur, I love that dude. Looks awesome out there. I mean, that's exactly it. He's a solid receiver, and he's like just overstepping what he really can do. So I don't know. The Bills look the least like a championship contender compared to what we've seen in the past.
All right, and I'm going to do some rapid fire frauds because that's what I like to do more. I'm bad at picking winners. I'm really good at picking who's overrated. Broncos aren't good. Like, you can't,
man.
Whoa. Can't not have an offense for 3 quarters. I know, out of left field. The Bo Nix hate just continues. Colts, they're losing the first round of the playoffs. That one's obvious. Jacksonville's very lucky to be above 500. I get to pick on them because they are currently sitting in the playoffs. Same with Pittsburgh. Man, those two teams are just gonna. I regret not betting them not to make the playoffs like 3 weeks ago. I do think Tampa Bay and Detroit are and even to some extent Seattle are the fraudulent teams. If I had to rank them, like, I think Seattle is the most fraudulent of any NFC team. Like, they have got
the Sam Darnold hate.
Dude, it's so funny because I'm the Sam Darnold guy. They have got the most. They have the most dominant wins, right? When they beat someone, they beat them bad. But I just keep going back, and I told you, to that Tampa Bay game, 44-38. Your team's built on defense. Your quarterback plays fantastic, and you still lose. I don't think they have enough of an offense against someone who's smart because, what is it? Again, saw on Twitter from Greg Cosell. They run power offense to pass the ball. Like, that's the whole scheme. They have 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, and they have JSN beating everyone one-on-one because they take coverage with their formation. Well, once teams stop overplaying the run because they can't run the ball well, like, their offensive line is not great at blocking. Ken Walker hasn't had a great year. All fantasy owners know that. I don't think Seattle is going to continue to have the offensive push they have. Sam Darnold's good, but you got to have more support around him than just JSN. And I think their defense is more fraudulent than it seemed. They've had they've played one good offense. I said that backwards. And they got smashed. The other offenses they played have been mediocre to bad, and it hasn't looked great.
I didn't agree with you till I actually looked at it before the show. Yeah, I can see that. I do think that JSN, with having as an amazing year as he has, it's just not sustainable. Like, your offense can't be Sam Darnold and JSN, and that's all it is. I mean, if they could get the running game going, it would be a different story, but they really have not. And it's not that they have a dual threat monster RBs that they combined don't have a run game.
All right. So that covers everything that isn't picks. And now we get to the things that matter, because our show's name is We Called It. Not we ranted about analytics and rankings and all that other stuff and coaches. So we have 3 picks again that are our favorites for the week. And I am going to start off easy with, I feel like if there is one team that is, or one of the teams that is We Called It branded, it is the Chargers. We believe in them nonstop, always and forever. They take on the Jaguars. They are 3-point favorites. And I just told you the Jaguars are fraudulent. You don't need to talk about it. Brian Thomas, I don't know if he'll be back. I'm guessing he might, but he's coming in hampered. Jacoby Myers is not a great, like, you traded for him for a reason, but I don't think it's going to pay off well. Their defense just got smoked by Davis Mills in Houston, who has been one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And now you get Justin Herbert as a reward. I think Chargers come out they know that they need to take care of business because they're fighting for home field advantage in the playoffs, and they still got hopes for the first round bye. I think the Chargers just keep coming out coaching, out scheming, being smarter, bigger, stronger, faster than everyone. Who did they just play? And it was an absolute beatdown Sunday night against the Steelers. Simply outsmarted the Steelers offense, and then the Chargers offense. I feel like they had the privilege to settle for 50-yard field goals because they didn't feel like they had to score. They're just like, all right, we're good. They stopped us. It's fourth down. Just kick it. We're fine.
Yeah, that game really was not nearly as close as the score, and I don't think the score looked very close either. And they just came off of recently looking really good against the Minnesota Vikings. I think that was a Thursday night game where they just ran all over them. There's just some games where they can get the run game going, but more so, this pick for me is against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars have looked fraudulent. I think that they are not going to be able to get the running game going against the Chargers. The Chargers defense is kind of just hitting on all gears, really starting to look good out there. And the Chargers offensive line is diminished, and there's a chance that they won't be able to run the ball. And that has been pretty key to their offenses. Kamani Vidal has filled in really, really well. I mean, as an above average backup for the team he wasn't even on the team when Marion Hampton got hurt, but he's just hitting holes, getting solid like 7-8 yard carries in the second half when they need to, and just really opens up the field for Herbert. And they started doing a lot more of a rotation on with their receivers. So you saw more. Who's the rookie? Is it Trey Harris?
Trey Harris, yep.
Yeah. You saw more of him, Quentin Johnston going in with Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen's not, they're saving his legs for the playoffs. You can see it out there. And then they just got good news on the new tight end.
Rondé Gadsden.
Yeah, he had an MRI on his knee, and it turned out to be a thigh bruise, which is the best MRI of a knee that you could get. So he I don't know if he'll be back this week, but he certainly will. It's not a long-term injury whatsoever. So I think that this team's just starting to kind of rear into more like playoff motion. As soon as Marion Hampton comes back, they're going to look even better. But the Jags defense lived off of turnovers to start the year. They're not getting them anymore. And I think they're just putting a lot more pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and he's looking like Trevor Lawrence.
I'm just saying, teams that live on turnovers, only the Bears can do that for the rest of the year. All right. That's why we have them making the playoffs. All right. Next up, this is my second favorite. I don't know if you agree with this one, I know you agree with it, but I don't know if you agree with the order, but it's the Lions at Eagles, and we have the under at 46.5. Is there anything more reliable than Jared Goff not playing well in the cold? Like, it's Philly, it's November. He is outdoors. At least I hope he's outdoors according to our spreadsheet. That might be wrong. Chat GPT's been screwing us over when it fills it in.
Correct. That is correct.
Under 46.5. And Ken, you were right. Did you watch the Eagles? They play so stupid offensively. It's embarrassing, but they're going to shut down defensively. I don't care. Dan Campbell's, calling the game. I think it was cute. I think it was nice. I've seen things. Oh, Jameson Williams, the guy now. Like you got to get him everywhere because they're going to use him more. And it's like, all right, cool. We saw it happen. Now we're gonna stop it from happening this week. We just weren't ready for it. So I think Eagles plan for it. They got good corners. They're big. They're physical. They can match up with that Lions offense. And I think we're going to get two teams that want to run the ball in a close game that are going to run the ball right at each other. And boom, under 46.5.
I think the Lions offense has struggled mightily when they cannot run the ball, when they're not hitting off big plays. And they've kind of moved away from David Montgomery getting like 20 carries for 60 yards. And I just don't think they're going to get any luck against this Eagles front that looks really good. I think the best trade that happened at the trade deadline was Jalen Phillips. I think he looked good. I think he played a ton in his, first game half week with the Eagles, and they're only going to get, more complex and more involved in the defense. I just don't think that they're going to get the ball going. They're going to have to trust Jared Goff to pass more. And when he's outdoors away against these good teams, I just think that it's not going to go well. Also, Dan Campbell is calling plays. Dan Campbell hasn't called plays in a while. I know he just started last week. That game barely counted. The Commanders, they're just a shell of themselves at this point. But I'm concerned. You're going from last year's Ben Johnson to Dan Campbell, who love him, tenacious guy, will get the team up, but I just don't think he's just gonna, sit there offensive mind and, play chess. Although he still might be the best play caller in this game.
All right.
But
Like I said, Brian Dable to the Eagles, baby, next year. All right. So my next pick. Not my next pick. This is a joint pick. Ken, I had to talk him into it because we had no more true mutual picks coming into this. And it is the Texans -6.5 against the Titans. The bottom line is the Texans are still playing with hope that they're going to make the playoffs. Their defense is phenomenal. It is shutting everyone down. It's physical. It makes turnovers. It does everything well. The Jags had a couple cheeky things go their way. I think they had a punt return touchdown even go in their favor, turnovers leading to points. And I think that's not going to happen with the Titans. Last time these two teams played, Texans shut down the Titans 22-0. And then the subsequent week, they played Cooper Rush and they humiliated him too. The Texans shut down teams with bad offenses and they humiliate them. This is just going to be another one of those weeks where the Texans come out, stop, say our defense is fantastic. We're fast. We're athletic. We're going to eat you alive. And then their offense, they're going to put up more than 6.5 points because they're going to have so many opportunities. So Texans -6.5.
No, I agree. And, this team is really beat up on bad offenses. And I do think that it's just underrated because good defense is just underrated in the NFL right now. That's just all it is. It's all about offense. I mean, this Texans defense is one of the best in the league. And the only thing they can't do is play offensive line for them. And if they did, they'd be a lot better. But CJ Stroud's coming back, and he's looked a little better when he hasn't been concussed. And
that's most people.
But before the injury, he's really starting to click it into gear a little bit better. But I just think that this is more of a ugly Tennessee giving up on a game. I know that they're coming off the bye week, but it's tough for Cam. It's Cam Ward versus, one of the best defenses that he'll play twice this year. I'm not a fan of the 6.5 number, but enough to follow Phil on this one.
I talked mostly for these, so I'll let you go first. Now, I wanted this pick. I thought of it. I turned it down, but you have it. You're going across the pond. I think the game is across the pond. I don't know. Madrid.
Last time
Where's that again?
Madrid, India. Going in. No. So.
Anyways, kind of Dolphins -2.5 against the Commanders.
Yeah, I guess the real loser here is Madrid because they have to watch these teams play. Commanders, Marcus Mariota, he's filled in pretty well, but I'm really curious to see how long they keep Jane Daniels out with the dislocated, non-throwing elbow. When he comes back, there's certainly going to be limitations. He's going to wear a big, funky brace, but it's not the shoulder. It won't necessarily mess up throwing mechanics as much as the opposite throwing arm or non-throwing arm shoulder injury. But it's still, I think there's no reason to rush him back. I would actually be surprised if he comes back, if he avoids the IR for this. But just because I think they're 3-7 right now, and everybody else on their team's injured, but they have not had any luck running the ball. Their offense, Terry McLaurin, who knows if he's going to be playing. He's been in and out of the lineup, and their defense has just looked bad. They've just been hit really bad with injuries, and they've been more susceptible to the run. And Achane and the Miami Dolphins look like they're just alive out there. Last week was the first real good game for their defense, probably more of a mirage, but definitely more just fading Marcus Mariota going across the pond.
All right. I'm going to Thursday Night Football for my pick without you, back to my picks. Pats -12.5. The Patriots have just looked like one of the best teams in the NFL. Like Drake May is an MVP candidate. Travion Henderson finally showed signs of life. They ran some outside zones, a little bit different than what they had been running, where they ran inside with him. And it turns out that when he runs outside, he's very, very fast and hard to tackle. Who knew? Don't know if you saw his kickoff return for a touchdown, Josh McDaniels, but whatever. So now I am just excited for the Pats to come out, and they get the Jets, man. The Jets, congratulations. You won your Super Bowl. You traded away your players, and then you beat the Browns, which you lost draft order rights because of, kind of a stupid win if you really think of it. And I am just so anti-Jets right now. I think they had 5 yards of offense, but they had 2 special teams touchdowns. I I just think the Patriots come out and they just completely mollywop them. Not even close. Like, there's not much to say besides they'll be destroying them. And Josh McDaniels, he definitely plays the FU style of football. I know because we watched it with the against the Titans and against the Browns, even against the Falcons, where it's like, it's kind of close late. They could run the clock out. What's he doing? Is that a 50-yard pass in the? Yep, that's a touchdown. Yep, he just for some reason decided to run the score up instead of trying to milk the clock. Heck, Travion Henderson looked to the sidelines to see if he should slide to kill the clock, and they said, no, go score a touchdown. This guy loves to put up points, so I'm 100% in on the Patriots just being like, all right, the Jets are tanking. They traded for it last week. The Browns screwed it up for them, and now they just put them in their place and smash them.
I like it all, except for just 12.5 is just such a big number. Is Tyrod Taylor going to play maybe? I don't even know what they're doing. I don't know if it necessarily matters. Vrabel and Drake May look like a team that can, or a duo that can do something in this league for next couple of years here.
All right. You have 1 pick left. I have 2, so I'm gonna double dip and go again. Just real quick, Buccaneers at Bills. Man, it's like my betting habits, they fall on the same teams over and over again. I feel like I've bet on a Buccaneers game 100 times this year, and I'm just following it up with, I think Josh Allen has a crazy FU game and starts putting up points this week. I said the Buccaneers were fraudulent. If you want, I told Ken, do you want to pair this? Like, hey, the Panthers to cover and the Bills to stomp the Buccaneers. That's really a bet on the Panthers to make the playoffs if you want to be cheeky. Anyways, over 48.5. I think it's a pretty low total for 2 teams that want to make big plays. Like I said, Josh Allen puts up points, and then nothing like Baker Mayfield playing from behind. That guy can put up garbage time points or, close point. As long as his team is not winning, he's throwing the ball. He's throwing it 20-plus yards downfield, and it's going to be a completion. So 100% in on Bills rushing out early and then Buccaneers trading blows left and right.
Who's the new receiver? The rookie receiver, super tiny guy.
Tez Johnson.
Johnson? Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Tez Johnson and Emeka Egbuka look pretty good out there. I mean, in terms of like what Baker wants to do at the end of the game, where he's like, I'm getting these chunk 20, 30-yard plays, and I'm going to throw it to K. Dotton for 8 yards if it's not there. It's just looked good. I just get concerned that teams, the Bills have stopped teams that are trying to pass more and have not been, or have been destroyed by the run, and that's just not happening without Bucky Irving for this Buccaneers team. I don't think that him and Rashad White can do it. And then what's his name?
Sean Tucker.
Yeah, Sean Tucker kind of took over for him a bit. So I'm expecting to see more Sean Tucker in this game.
Don't say that. That's bad for my fantasy team. Don't say that.
There's a lot that's bad for my fantasy team, let me tell you.
Hey, Sean Tucker had 136 yards in a game last year. Just remember that.
Yeah, and he still might get it against the Bills and get you that over. But I just think that the styles don't necessarily match up that well. Vita Vea has been just, log jamming the running game, and that's really slowed down the Bills this year. So we'll see on that one.
All right, you're up next. Broncos at Chiefs. You have under 44.5.
Yeah, the Broncos don't have an offense, man. I think that they've done a really good job of keeping games competitive. I think Bo Nix has really put together nothing in the first 3 quarters every single game, and nothing looks good. I'll bet you they're really kicking themselves because what they really wanted on offense was Javonte Williams running the ball. I think RJ Harvey's shown flashes, but J.K. Dobbins just
out for the year, man.
Oh, is he out for the year?
Yeah. Season-ending IR with some kind of leg thing because he
kidding.
doesn't have working legs.
Look at that. So, hey, RJ Harvey's
Breaking
pretty
news.
good. So maybe that'll be good. But I just think that this is going to be a lot more of a slow game, possession type game. I think that the Chiefs are going to make a statement out of it. I think that they'll definitely get the win here. Who knows? It just might be ugly against this Broncos defense, but I'm seeing a lot more like a slower game and more possession than anything else.
My thing is, I know I said the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, but the Broncos had them twice last year. And I don't know, like it's in Mile High. And if the Broncos do win and cover, you're right. Like if they win or they cover, even it's going to be the under. But you can't bet against the Chiefs, in my opinion. Which in that case would mean the over, because I think if the Chiefs are winning, it's because their offense is unstoppable. All right.
I don't even think that even if their offense is unstoppable, I don't think that the Broncos are going to score.
It's a good point. I don't know. Fourth quarter Bo Nix, man. Not a lot of quarterbacks better than him in NFL history. Him and Tebow making cases for themselves. All right. Next up, we have Cardinals at 49ers for me. I got 49ers minus 2.5. I don't know why. I might as well just put in like locked betting the 49ers each week, man. I think the Cardinals are bad. I think the 49ers are going to come out. I thought their offense played pretty well. Got some bad luck with 2 fumbles in the first half, and that just ruined the game for them. Then it let Sean McVay do whatever he wanted. When the 49ers defense guessed run, he threw it. When they guessed pass, he ran it. Like McVay played with them as much as he wanted, and it didn't matter. Put up 42 points. But again, 49ers still put up 26. They convert those 2 plays. They don't fumble. They could have 7 scoring drives and 42 points themselves. So I am all in. I said Gannon is a candidate to get fired. You have to lose games to get fired. 49ers are at home. It's less than a field goal. Seems like a good spot just to add on another L.
I just think that the 49ers defense is fraudulent at this point. Awesome defense, too many injuries, and you can only hang around like that for so long. I just also hate betting against a team that just got completely and utterly destroyed like the Cardinals did. It was like 28-0 at the start of the second quarter. That's just not. I mean, that game was over, and they usually come back better after a rough game like that. So, yes, I like the 49ers. I don't like the spot.
All right. That covers all the games we have to talk. We marked and would talk about with picks. So let's just flip through these last ones. Bears at Vikings. We don't have picks. I really like if we kept doing the game of we want to watch. This is the one I want to watch. There is nothing like watching the 2 quarterbacks who are both being criticized for not being the guy. Go against each other. No one. JJ McCarthy has just been terrible. Bottom line, I think he's like bottom 3 in any relevant quarterback statistic when he's played. He starts off at every game really well. I think you could probably put a bet in like once the Vikings score their first touchdown in the first 5 minutes, bet the team under right after that, because you know it's going to hit. Then you got the Bears. Caleb Williams has not. I still don't think he's looked good in any game they played. Like the win over the Bengals, that wasn't a great game by him. That was a great game by the running game, and then he supplemented it with a couple good passes. I think Ben Johnson has cracked the code. Kyle Minagi, fantastic 7th round pick. Physical guy, great compliment to DeAndre Swift. What?
Get a good running back with your mediocre running back.
Anyways, DJ Moore, what a disappointment to my fantasy team and all my fantasy advice. But Luther Burden stepping up, playing well. He had 4 catches for 51 yards last week. Rome Odunze finally got back involved in the offense. I think the offense has so many weapons.
Colston Loveland, limited time out there, but like looks the part of a first round tight end.
Yeah. I mean, Cole Kmet, solid player too, but he's
solid
out.
player,
like,
really solid player.
Like there's just so many. There's just a depth of like 5 or 6 great receiving options in addition to the running backs. So I think the Bears are good. The Vikings, like literally, we could copy paste like the same things. Like they have all these great players. Their defense is really good. Their defense is really smart, but their quarterback is just so bad. And I don't get how you let all relevant quarterbacks go after seeing JJ McCarthy and like knowing what he could do. Like they put a big bet on him by not investing in players and who were there, right? Daniel Jones. They let Carson Wentz play. Sam Darnold was the other one, yeah. So just disappointing on that.
If we're gonna go
Kirk
that far.
Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's just bad, man. So very curious to watch. Interested in betting because too wide a spread of outcomes for both these teams. Is that your analysis?
I just don't like watching JJ McCarthy, which just sucks because I love every little. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Aaron Jones are all just like some of my favorite players to watch. I even like watching TJ Hawkinson, and I can't. I like watching Brian Flores' defense, and he just killed the whole team. But with that being said, we were just talking. I haven't seen anything I like out of Caleb Williams either. So
I think
he's like, oh, I want to watch it. I'm over here like, no, I don't want to watch it. I want one
come
of
on.
these guys to get better first.
Dude, I could see these guys throwing four, like I could see both of them ending the game with 3 picks and 3 touchdowns each.
Yeah, I could
That's the
too.
game. That's the game you want to watch. All right, I'll let you go first since I ranted on that one. Bengals at Steelers.
You're gonna give me the Bengals.
But you don't want that. You can pick whatever one you want. Seahawks at Rams is a good one. Should probably talk about that actually.
So, I can definitely talk about Seahawks at Rams here. Nah, I think that the Rams are one of the best teams in the league. I think that the Seahawks, up until you pointed out how weak the offensives have been that they've played, I thought that their defense has just been, just completely standing out. But it's just a good game to watch. I don't know, there's some playoff implications in terms of seeding with it, but are Sam Darnold and JSN, are they that good? Are they going to be able to keep up with Sam Darnold and Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams? And the Rams defense has been underrated and that good this year. So I definitely think it's a good game. This is more of my like must watch because these are two of the best. You're getting two of the best quarterback playing in the NFL right now. But yeah, definitely not Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy out there. Like, it's just hard to make a choice. I could see the Rams completely blowing them out. I could also see this just being a really tight game, comes down to last second field goal.
So the reason I'm less interested in this game than you is Mike McDonald and Sean McVay are 2 coaches that are like, this is going to be a good close game. Let's go run the ball 20 times and we'll throw the ball 15 and we'll play it real tight until the very end. And then we'll start putting up points. My biggest fear now, Sean McVay hasn't been like that as much this year, but that's still just my biggest fear anytime they're playing in a tight competitive game. I wish I could take Rams -2.5, but it's just one of those things where I said the Seahawks aren't good. I said the Seahawks are fraudulent, but I might be really wrong. And sometimes there's better games to bet on than that. I'd rather bet on the Jets being really bad.
Yeah, I really want to take the Rams -2.5, but I can't because it's -3.5.
That too. That Chat GPT just continues to let us down. All right, Bengals at Steelers. I'll take this one. Repeat of the oldest men in football playing against each other in a slap fight. Man, I really hope the Bengals win this. Is this just that would be fantastic for the Steelers to get destroyed because they just came off a big win, right? Before playing the Chargers. I feel like I should have known this beforehand. 1 minute.
Yeah, no. They did, and then they got completely embarrassed.
They beat the Colts.
That's how the Steelers got on my do not bet list. Yeah,
they beat the Colts. They were after the Colts were looking red hot. They crushed them too. They looked very, very good against the Colts. And next thing you know, Steelers punch them in the face and it's over. And then the Steelers get humiliated. Now the Steelers play the Bengals again, who they lost to in an embarrassing fashion, right? And I don't know. I think we get another Joe Flacco FU game. The corners are old in Pittsburgh, and I'm just going to chuck it to T. Higgins. I'm just going to chuck it to Jamar Chase. And I'm curious if more teams start to adapt the Chargers defense of we're going to put 3 guys on DK Metcalf, and we're just going to let your other receivers run free. Go ahead. Calvin Austin, we'll see. We'll catch the 2 passes that hit off your face mask. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, you guys can't move. You guys won't get past the 50.
Aaron Rodgers' favorite person to throw the ball to is Darnell Washington, the left tackle out there, man.
Dude, I love watching him catch a ball. It's terror. I would hate tackling him. I'm a 5'11", 210-pound corner. I have to run and hit that guy. It's going to hurt me more than him.
I saw a meme that was whoever told this guy to play tight end instead of left tackle cost him about $100 million in the NFL.
Anyways, 5.5 is just a lot for the Steelers. Over under at 49.5. That's like an average number for the Bengals. It's either going double that or half it. Those are the 2 options.
I don't know what it is with Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco, anywhere he's gone since the Ravens, it's he's just really good at putting up 30, but his team just gives up 35. think back to was it last year where he was
2 years
playing?
ago for the Browns, last year for the
No,
Colts.
yeah, last year for the Colts where they're like a win and we're still in the playoffs, and he's like, I put up like 34 points, and they're like, well, you lost to the Giants. They scored 38, and it's like the Giants that like couldn't do anything, like could score 10 points a game.
Yep.
It's just I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like poor game management. I don't know if it's he can't like just inopportune interceptions or just scoring too quickly or whatever in the fourth quarter. But it just seems like he's always giving the other team a chance to win.
It's it. When you throw the 30-yard bomb, it doesn't leave. It doesn't end up well when you're trying to milk the clock. What they got to do is you got to have Joe Flacco play, get the lead, and then put in Dylan Gabriel and let him milk the clock.
I don't think there's anyone that will ever tell you you should substitute Joe Flacco for Dylan Gabriel anymore from Cleveland. That's for sure.
Fine, Shador, whatever. All right. Falcons at Panthers. Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. The total's 42.5. Like, the Panthers are just the most confusing team in the world, right? They win randomly. They don't play well. I don't know how they do it. They have these massive comebacks. I'm just staying away. I want the Panthers to be good. Connor wants the Panthers to be good. Like, that's all I got.
Dude, I want Rico Dowdle to run all over the Falcons. That's what I want to happen. I'm talking like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, Bryce Young to have his solid 180 yards and 70
Ted
yards.
McMillan, 50 yards, 7 catches.
But it's just so tough. I don't know what Falcons team we're getting out there. Are we getting like a Drake London 3-touchdown game? Or are we getting like, Michael Penix can't get the ball past the line of scrimmage? Bijan, I think, he's not beat up, but their line is. I think they're missing like 4 out of their top 6 linemen, and it's just completely killing them. And they're putting in a lot more like Tyler Algier, more like ground and pound, because Bijan's got no open space to get to. So it's a tough one, tough divisional game. I'm just staying away.
I will say, so me, I like to do my alt receiving lines for people. And like Darnell Mooney is the perfect candidate for it. That guy can get a 70-yard touchdown all the time. Every time I watch, I bet it once early in the year, but every time I watch the Falcons, I'm like, dude, Michael Penix cannot throw to anyone. I don't know what Drake London is doing to make like the voodoo work and these great touchdown catches and all that, because Darnell Mooney will be wide open and Penix will dirt it to him. He'll throw it 30 yards over his head. And then there's Drake London making a diving catch or something crazy. So it's kind of amazing how bad the throws are, but London can still recover.
Yeah, his best throws are checkdowns to Bijan. That's really it.
The Giants at Packers, man. If I knew Dart was playing, I'd take Packers or Giants +7 in a heartbeat. Not the case. Don't expect it to be. So staying away. There is that, after a coach gets fired, the team, groups up and fights for the new guy. And Jameis Winston ain't playing, so that ain't happening.
I really almost took the under on this one. I was really, really close. And I just can't do it after the Dable firing. Just, you might get like a few extra points there, but the Packers play down to their opponents. The Packers will run out the clock in the second half. They just play, it was good defense and good solid running game. Now it's average defense and solid running game. They have injuries all over the place to the receivers. I just don't know how they're going to be able to move the ball. I could definitely see the under more so, but besides that, just 7 points is just too much. So staying away.
All right. Ravens -8.5 against the Browns. Like, I have Pats -12.5. I don't know why I'm not jumping on Ravens -8.5 against the Browns. This just seems like the sneaky Brown spot where they're going to do something crazy and they're going to hold the Ravens to 13 and they're going to score 6 because they're going to miss the extra point. But the Browns defense did humiliate the Ravens offense last time. Like, they shut them down for like 3 quarters and like 12
and only
drives.
Gave up 41.
Yeah. That's how bad the Browns offense was, 1, but 2, how many opportunities the Ravens had. So 100%, like, I don't know what to think of this. If I had to make a pick, it would be the Ravens in a heartbeat. But 8.5 is just a lot for a road division rivalry game against the defense that's as good as the Browns.
Yep. I like the under just because I just don't think that Dylan Gabriel's can move the ball, period. I think that it's going to be ugly. I don't think that Derrick Henry's ripping off any 80-yard touchdowns. And we did slow down Lamar like just enough. And it doesn't seem like Lamar's back to his like full go. Like he's not looking that explosive as a runner. So, I mean, the Browns offense has looked really, really good at home. So would be interested in the under, not interested in the Browns, maybe interested in the Browns on, but it's going to be an ugly game.
I'm just going to keep putting together different permutations of these words.
Under,
right.
Browns under.
It's under.
Under.
Raiders at Cowboys. Nah, should be an over, right? Like these two teams, like that's the bottom line. It's a Monday night game, and I'm just going to tell you, I don't want to watch it because it's Monday night. It's a standalone game, despite it being a game that should be an over and should be like 31-21. Cowboys beat the Raiders. I'm kind of like it was, the Cowboys were fun for a minute, right? Where their defense was giving up points and they were doing, fun things on offense. And then the Raiders, I just think Geno Smith throwing 3 picks a game, that's not fun football. But I'm just kind of out on the Cowboys having this terrible defense and this offense that just goes and does things. Not much interest in this game. If I had to pick, it'd be an over and Cowboys -3.5. But I'm not actually putting my money out where my mouth is on that.
It's sad because if I had to go somewhere, it'd be Raiders +3.5.
See, that's why I'm not putting my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, it's just ugly. And you can't like say you want the Raiders +3.5. It's it's just as ugly out there.
You got the Geno Smith first quarter where you can just end the game for you instantly.
Yeah. So if anything, I know we don't do player props, but Brock Bowers over because teams just do whatever they want against the Cowboys, and that's it. I don't know. It's just gonna be an ugly game. I guess you could do the over, but like, there's also chances there like Geno Smith just stops playing offense out there. I don't know. It's just an ugly
and
game.
then who comes in? Is Aiden O'Connell? Yeah, that's great. I'm just kidding. So yeah, feel bad for John T. Feel bad for the whole Raiders. Everything in this game. Pete Carroll's already halfway out the door in retirement or moving back up to the president's box because you can't leave football. Anyways, that's it.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Pete Carroll. He deserves better than this at the end.
Oh, that's it. So solid, somewhere over an hour after we clip out a bunch of it. I screwed up again. If you made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe. Reach out. We appreciate all the feedback. JJ Watt
is still here.
We're halfway to 100 subscribers.
If you made it through, if you made it through the slap happy, tired, baby crying episode, I'm so sorry.
This is the entertainment people want.
No,
yeah, we kicked it off with analytics. Like, it's fantastic,
man.
Next time we'll have you give a biology or some kind of anatomy lesson on like there you go, anatomy and physiology for injuries. So we'll make life easy. Put everyone to sleep. All right. Thanks for listening. Let's hit the stop button. All right. The analytics talk. Indy Podesta, Mr. Moneyball, leaving Cleveland. So I just wanted to jump on this real quick because obviously analytics, everyone rips it apart. Does it work? Does it not work? And I even saw an interesting chart today that was, I can't remember who tweeted it out, but Sam Hoppen retweeted it. And it was like, hey, if you look at the best teams in yards per play, they do everything math nerds say you shouldn't do. They're under center. They have multiple tight ends. They run the ball and they use play action, right? The things that you say use shotgun and just always throw the ball. So the reason the NFL is different than like the MLB and NBA is because there's so many less repetitions in a game that you don't get the expected value benefit, but you get the downside of like the screwing up plays. Easy summary. What's that mean? If I tell you to throw the ball every time, you should get more yards than if you run it. Obviously, if you throw an incomplete pass, then you'll have less yards. Or you could think of it as when you throw the ball, something bad can happen. The other team can just ruin it for you. Chiefs versus Jags, perfect example. Chiefs dominated that game. They throw 1 pick six, but it was on the 1 yard line going in. That's a 14-point swing. It's in the NFL, it's hard to overcome that. All that to say, the Browns relied too much on Deep Podesta to do too much of their game planning, too much of their scheme design and then drafting when the same logic doesn't hold in the NFL. But I will say analytics is still an important tool to have because you still need to be able to find small, like everyone else is using it. They've gained huge value across all teams in the league for it going on fourth down. So you got to have someone who's just in the ear of the coach to do that. Anyways, Ken, I kind of just rambled on analytics for like 2 minutes for no reason, just to say, hey, it works. But people really need to understand that in the NFL, the one or two plays flipping a game really breaks the logic of analytics, right? In the NBA, you think, I want to shoot 100 3-pointers because if I make 30 of them, my team wins or something like that. In the NFL, you can't use that same logic. If I throw the ball 100 times, I still might only get 14 points, or I might give up 7 points the other way.
All right. This might be a really dumb question as not coming from an analytic background at all. But for example, why I thought analytics work so well in baseball, it's a lot slower moving game. There's one ball, and generally speaking, there's only 3 or 4 people moving per hit in general. Lower game, a lot more like I guess like pitching, like chess match type of thing, where like selecting a pitch and analytics come in a bit more. Versus, and then basketball, like I didn't even realize like the high repetition thing makes tons of sense, but it's only 5-on-5, but teams are running like defenses like just one whole piece versus you're going to football 11-on-11. I just always thought there were just so many different moving parts, so many different types of schemes, and it's just in general a much more complex game, which is why I thought that analytics were just a lot harder. I mean, there's definitely like a rule for advanced stats in, well, everything, but particularly like for football. But I just didn't think it was as easy to like identify because of all the moving parts. Like, you tell me, does that have anything to do with it at all?
Yeah, right. Like, if you have 18 games in a season, right? My team, I have 18 data points, right? That's really it. And then even if you go down to plays, it's like, how many situational plays do you have that you can be like, hey, we did this, it was intentional, and it worked out. If you really, and you can also think of it like going forward on fourth down, right? Everyone says to do it because historically on the data, it says if you go for fourth down, you get the chance to get more points. What they don't say is on a play sheet, and this is to your point, it's like, I have 5 or 6 go for it on fourth down plays that I think are money and are going to work. If I go for it on every fourth down in every game, teams are going to adapt to it and it's no longer going to be effective, right? The famous play is only famous because a lot of teams run it. It burned the Browns in the playoffs against the Chiefs, right? It is fourth and short. You put your fastest guy in the slot. He runs straight outside. You throw him the ball. He falls forward for 2 yards because no one can keep up with him. It's just a shock. It happened to the Browns in the playoffs when Chad Henne beat them to Tyreek Hill, right? It's just like it's a sprint to the outside. Well, guess what? If you run that 3 or 4 times in a row, then the next game, someone's going to know, all right, I'm just going to have my guy play outside leverage. He can't run to the outside. We stop him. We flip it. So that is like a really granular example of like, even on one thing that like happens 4 or 5 times, you can get an advantage on it. To your point that it's like, there's so many different teams, they play so differently and they adapt to how you play. And then there's injuries on top of it. So they change how they play week to week. That I just think it's really hard to come up with high level plans that it's like, all right, our scheme is going to be based around the analytics, unlike in the NBA where it's like, all right, cool. We know Steph Curry is really good from these spots. So we're going to do things where he's going to run, it's going to pull the defense and he's going to make a shot. Or James Harden's going to stand here and dribble for 10 seconds and everyone's going to watch him and someone will be open for a 3. So you get to see it over and over and over again. And whether it works against all defenses or specific defenses and things like that. I don't know. Did I answer that?
A little bit there. It's just interesting. I don't know. It just seems like it's a whole lot harder in football.
Right. There's just much less data. And I think the problem, like Mike Vrabel, Mike Tomlin, Matt LaFleur, Andy Reid has incorporated analytics, but he hasn't really leaned on it as much, right? They never run a QB sneak, and analytics say you should do it all the time. But those are all like, guys, we don't play analytic football. We play traditional football that it's, and they win more. And that's the bottom line. And it's like, who's going to make the 1 or 2 or 3, 1, 2 or 3 plays to win the game? Because like the NBA, MLB, everyone complains there's too many games and you just get fatigue watching. Well, those are the games that analytics wins because, like, if you do the right thing over and over and over again or make the right decision, you're going to win. But there's so much pressure in every NFL game that coaches that are like, hey, we coached for this scenario, these 5 plays. It doesn't matter what happens the other 90% of the time because we get the turnover, we make the stop, we throw the touchdown, right? And that's all that really ends up mattering. You get small edges from going for fourth down where you get like 7 points instead of 3, but in the long run, I just think it has much less of a place. It's still very valuable for influencing decision, but I don't think it's like the MLB and NBA where you can fully rely on it to win. And again, if you want to take it a step further and go in the playoffs of the NBA, everyone complains, right? Because it doesn't look like the regular season. Now your analytics don't work because you base it on the data, which is the whole year. So no longer analytics working there.
Interesting. Okay, one last thing, and then we will just kill this because this is way too much nerd talk.
I really should have started off with like, hey, skip this section. There's if you don't want it.
Well, Andy Reid, you bring him up, and it's so fun. Do you remember all the talk about Andy Reid for when he was in Philly? Great coach, great team, makes the playoffs, can't control a clock, has no idea how to end a game, and can't win a big game.
Mm-hmm.
You get Pat Mahomes, and all of a sudden, all that stuff looks really easy, and he's all of a sudden become a master of game clock and time management. And they went on that historic run of winning so many one-score games. So I don't think that there's an analytic that says Pat Mahomes is here, do a QB sneak. So that's my thought.
Again, but like, again, to that point, it's like you're losing. Who's more likely to go for it on fourth down or make a fourth quarter comeback, right? Is Patrick Mahomes for all those years. So when I make an analytic decision, I say, who did that? Like, what are the general decisions that are made? It doesn't say, hey, exclude the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes, but then your team doesn't have Mahomes, so you don't have the same effectiveness when you do things. So you just got to think like historically, the average did this and it worked, but it's different now. All right, so that's enough of that.